a great kingdom flourished under the rule of King Adeyemi, a wise and just ruler whose leadership brought peace and prosperity to the land. His people admired him, and his only son, Prince Kwame, was adored for his kindness, bravery, and deep connection with the common folk. Kwame was destined to inherit the throne, and many believed he would be an even greater ruler than his father. However, beneath the surface of the kingdom's peace, a silent storm brewed. Queen Zuba, the king's second wife and Kwame's stepmother, harbored a dark secret. She practiced forbidden magic, a power she had inherited from her ancestors. Though she masked her true nature behind a facade of loyalty and grace, her heart burned with ambition. She desired the throne not for her husband but for herself, and she saw Kwame as the only obstacle standing in her way. For years, Queen Zuba had searched for a way to remove the prince without arousing suspicion. Finally, she discovered a powerful sorcerer, an exiled mystic who lived deep in the cursed swamps beyond the kingdom's borders. It was said that his magic could bend time itself, trapping souls in a world where no one could reach them. If she could use his powers, Kwame would vanish without a trace, neither dead nor alive, just lost in a realm beyond human grasp. Determined to see her plan through, Queen Zuba made the dangerous journey to the swamp, bringing offerings of gold, rare herbs, and even a drop of her own blood. Under the light of the full moon, she met the sorcerer, and together they forged a dark pact that would change the fate of the kingdom forever. Late one night, Queen Zuba sat in her hidden chamber, poring over an ancient, tattered manuscript given to her by the sorcerer. The text spoke of a powerful spell, one capable of trapping a soul outside of time itself, leaving the victim neither dead nor alive, lost in an endless void where days and nights had no meaning. It was the perfect fate for Prince Kwame. With him gone, there would be no proof of murder, no suspicion, and no chance of him ever returning to claim the throne. She knew she had to be patient. Such magic required precise conditions, powerful lunar energy, rare ingredients, and the unsuspecting presence of the victim in the right place at the right time. She continued to play the role of the loving stepmother, hiding her true intentions behind smiles and soft-spoken words. But in secret, she made preparations, gathering enchanted herbs, whispering incantations at midnight, and securing the final piece of the ritual, a sacred object belonging to Kwame. Just as she was waiting for the perfect opportunity, the king made a shocking announcement. He had arranged for Prince Kwame to marry Princess Adana, the daughter of a neighbouring kingdom's ruler. Their union would not only strengthen the kingdom's alliances, but also solidify Kwame's path to the throne. The wedding was to take place within the next moon cycle. Panic surged through Queen Zuba. If Kwame married and became king, she would lose all influence. The new queen would replace her, and the prince's power would only grow stronger. She could not let that happen. Realizing that time was running out, she accelerated her plan. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, she decided to create one. She devised a scheme to lure Kwame to a place of her choosing, one where the spell could be cast without interference. If she succeeded, the kingdom would mourn his loss, the king would be left broken, and she could rule from the shadows without anyone standing in her way. As the night deepened, Queen Zuba stood before her mirror, whispering ancient words into the darkness. A gust of wind blew through the chamber, flickering the candles. The deal had been sealed. Soon, the prince would be hers to erase from time itself. Queen Zuba knew that planting doubt in the king's mind was the first step in ensuring her plan's success. Late one evening, she sat beside him, her expression troubled, her voice heavy with concern. She spoke softly, as if reluctant to say what was on her mind, but her carefully chosen words carried venom. She told him that whispers had reached her ears, rumours of discontent among the palace guards, of secret meetings held in the shadows. At first, the king dismissed it as nonsense, but Queen Zuba persisted, suggesting that Kwame had grown impatient for the throne. She reminded the king of how beloved Kwame was by the people, how even the elders spoke of him as a future ruler. "What if he no longer wishes to wait?" she asked, her voice laced with false worry. The king frowned, shaking his head, but a seed of doubt had been planted. He loved his son, but he also understood that power had a way of changing even the best of men. Over the next few days, Queen Zuba fed the king more lies. She fabricated stories of guards overhearing secret conversations, of loyal advisors suddenly growing distant. She played on his fears, subtly weaving the idea that his own son might betray him. Though the king never confronted Kwame directly, a shadow of uncertainty darkened his gaze whenever they spoke. With the king's mind clouded, Queen Zuba moved to the next phase of her plan. One evening, she approached Kwame, her expression serious. She told him that his father had been troubled lately, that he had questions only Kwame could answer. "He wishes to meet you alone," she said. "In the forbidden forest, where no ears will listen, where no guards will interfere." She made it sound urgent, as though the king's trust in him depended on this secret meeting. Kwame, unaware of the deception, agreed without hesitation. He loved his father and would do anything to ease his worries. That night, under the cover of darkness, he set out toward the forbidden forest, never suspecting that he was walking straight into the web his stepmother had so carefully woven. The forbidden forest was eerily silent as Kwame stepped into its depths, the moon casting long shadows through the twisted branches. The air felt heavier than usual, thick with an unnatural stillness. He walked cautiously, his father's absence gnawing at his mind. Had the king changed his mind? Was this truly where he had wished to meet? Then, from the darkness, a soft whisper curled around him like a serpent. "You should not have come, Prince Kwame." Before he could react, the air crackled with unseen energy, and Queen Zuba stepped into view. She was draped in a dark cloak, her hands raised, her lips moving in an ancient chant. The ground beneath Kwame trembled, and a deep violet glow erupted in a perfect circle around him. The prince tried to move, but his body was paralyzed, held in place by unseen forces. Queen Zuba's eyes gleamed with triumph. "I warned your father that you were dangerous, but he refused to see it. Now, I will erase you from time itself. You will never claim the throne, never be remembered, never return." Kwame struggled, his heart pounding, but the circle tightened around him. The glow intensified, rising from the earth in swirling tendrils of magic. A portal began to form, an abyss of shifting light and shadow. The air grew colder as whispers from the void called out, voices trapped in endless limbo. Then, before Kwame could cry out, the magic surged forward. A force unlike anything he had ever felt wrapped around him, pulling him from the world he knew. His vision blurred, his breath caught in his chest, and then silence. Kwame found himself suspended in a realm unlike any other. There was no sky, no ground, only shifting, endless mist stretching in every direction. Strange, shadowy figures drifted around him, their eyes hollow, their forms flickering like dying flames. They were trapped souls, victims of the same spell, lost in time for eternity. "Help me!" Kwame shouted, but his voice echoed into nothingness. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, Queen Zuba returned to the palace, her face streaked with false tears. She burst into the king's chambers, her voice trembling as she spun her final lie. "Kwame went into the forbidden forest," she sobbed, "and he never returned. I begged him not to go, but he wouldn't listen." The king, overcome with grief, sent search parties into the night, but no trace of Kwame could be found. Whispers spread through the kingdom. Some believed the spirits of the forest had claimed him, others that he had vanished into the unseen world. Queen Zuba, now unchallenged, hid her satisfaction behind a veil of sorrow. The prince was gone, and soon she would have the power she had always craved. But deep within the timeless dimension, Kwame refused to surrender. He knew there had to be a way back, and he swore that he would find it, no matter how long it took. The news of Prince Kwame's disappearance spread like wildfire across the kingdom. People gathered in the streets, whispering about the tragedy. Many believed that the forbidden forest had claimed him, that the restless spirits dwelling within had dragged him into their world. Others wept openly, mourning the loss of the beloved prince who had always shown kindness to the common folk. In the palace, King Adeyemi was overcome with grief. His once strong frame seemed to shrink under the weight of his sorrow, and his once wise eyes grew distant. He refused to eat, speak, or even leave his chambers for days. His heart ached with guilt. Had he doubted his son for nothing? Had he been blinded by fear? But now, it was too late. Kwame was gone, lost to a fate unknown. With the king consumed by mourning, Queen Zuba began to tighten her grip on the kingdom. She stepped in to oversee matters of state, claiming that the king was too heartbroken to rule. She made decisions in his name, slowly gaining power over the royal council. Though some ministers hesitated to accept her authority, her cunning words and manipulative charm left them with little choice. Step by step, she positioned herself as the true ruler of the land. But not everyone believed the tale of Kwame's disappearance. Jabari, Kwame's closest friend and most trusted ally, refused to accept that the prince had simply vanished. He knew Kwame better than anyone. He would never have wandered into the forbidden forest without a reason. Something felt wrong. The grief in Queen Zuba's eyes seemed rehearsed, her actions too calculated. Determined to uncover the truth, Jabari vowed to investigate. Deep in his heart, he felt it. Kwame was not dead. Something darker was at play, and he would not rest until he found out what it was. Kwame drifted through the endless mist, his mind struggling to grasp what had happened. There was no sun, no ground, no sense of direction, only a vast, shifting void where time did not exist. He could not tell if minutes or centuries had passed since he was pulled into this strange realm. Shadows flickered around him, whispering words he could not understand. Determined not to lose himself, Kwame forced himself to move forward, though there was no true path. The deeper he ventured, the more figures emerged from the mist, souls trapped just like him. Some wandered aimlessly, their faces void of recognition, their spirits broken by eternity. Others clung to faint memories, whispering the names of loved ones they would never see again. Then, from the swirling fog, a powerful voice called out, "You are not the first to be imprisoned here, young prince." Kwame turned to see a tall, armored figure standing before him. His face was scarred, his eyes glowing faintly with an eerie blue light. "I am General Azuka," he said. I was once a warrior, betrayed by those I trusted. Like you, I was cast into this prison, meant to be forgotten. Kwame felt a flicker of hope. Is there a way out? Azuka studied him for a long moment before nodding. Yes, but you cannot break the spell alone. Only someone from the world you were taken from can shatter the curse. If no one seeks to free you, you will remain here forever. The words sent a chill through Kwame. He thought of his father, his people, and his best friend, Jabari. He refused to accept that this was his fate. Then I must find a way to send a message, he said. Azuka's expression darkened. The realm does not allow direct contact, but there are ways, if you are strong enough, to bend the magic. Determined, Kwame clenched his fists. He would not accept an eternity in this void. If there was even the smallest chance to escape, he would fight for it. What he did not know was that in the real world, someone had already begun searching for him. Jabari could not shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The story of Kwame's disappearance did not sit well with him. His friend would never have entered the forbidden forest without good reason. Determined to find answers, Jabari set out on a journey beyond the palace walls, seeking wisdom from those who understood forces beyond the realm of ordinary men. His search led him to the outskirts of the kingdom, where an ancient seer, Mother Nia, lived in a secluded hut deep in the wilderness. It was said that she could see beyond the veil of the physical world, speaking with spirits and uncovering hidden truths. When Jabari arrived, Mother Nia was already waiting, as if she had known he would come. She fixed her piercing gaze on him and spoke before he could utter a word. "Your prince is not dead, but he is not among the living either. He is trapped outside of time itself." Jabari's breath caught in his throat. "How do I bring him back?" The seer's expression darkened. "The spell that binds him is woven in lies and treachery. It was cast by one who walks the palace halls, one whose heart is blackened by ambition." Jabari clenched his fists, already knowing the answer. "Queen Zuba." Mother Nia nodded. "The curse can only be broken if the truth is revealed. The kingdom must see her for what she truly is. Only then will the spell lose its power." With renewed purpose, Jabari returned to the palace, watching the queen closely. He spoke to servants, overheard whispered conversations, and carefully pieced together the truth. He learned of her secret visits to the forbidden forest, of the strange herbs she kept hidden, of the fearful glances exchanged between those who had seen too much but dared not speak. As he gathered proof, he realized that exposing the queen would not be easy. She had woven her deception carefully, and many still believed her mourning was genuine. But Jabari knew one thing for certain: he would not stop until the truth was known, no matter what it took. Kwame's fate depended on it. Jabari knew the time had come. With the evidence he had gathered, he summoned the royal court, demanding an audience with the king. Whispers filled the grand hall as nobles and advisors gathered, curious about what the young warrior had to say. Queen Zuba sat beside the grieving king, her face carefully composed, but Jabari saw the flicker of unease in her eyes. Stepping forward, Jabari spoke with unwavering conviction. He recounted everything: the forbidden magic, the dark ritual, the lies she had told to turn the king against his son. He presented testimonies from servants who had seen her sneaking away at night, the remnants of enchanted herbs found in her chambers, and the knowledge of Mother Nia, the seer who had confirmed the prince's fate. Gasps echoed through the court as the truth unravelled before them. The king's face darkened with shock and pain. his grief transforming into realization. He turned to Queen Zuba, his voice trembling. "Is this true?" For a moment, she remained still, her mask of sorrow cracking. Then, realizing her deception had been exposed, she leaped from her seat and tried to flee. But the guards, already warned by Jabari, moved swiftly, seizing her before she could escape. She thrashed, cursing them all, but her power had crumbled under the weight of her own lies. As the queen was dragged away, a sudden shift rippled through the air. The palace torches flickered, and a strange hum filled the room. The dark magic that had bound Kwame was breaking. Then, in a flash of golden light, the mist that had swallowed the prince dissipated, and Kwame stumbled back into the world of the living. He gasped, his heart pounding, his eyes meeting his father's. The spell was broken. The prince had returned. With her dark magic undone and her lies exposed, Queen Zuba was stripped of her title and banished from the kingdom. The people, once fooled by her false sorrow, now saw her for the traitor she was. Guards escorted her beyond the palace gates, and as she disappeared into exile, a great weight lifted from the land. In the royal court, King Adeyemi stood before his son, his face filled with remorse. "I let doubt cloud my heart," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "I should have trusted you, my son." He knelt before Kwame, a rare gesture from a king to his heir. "Forgive me." Kwame, though scarred by the betrayal, embraced his father. "The kingdom needs us both," he said. "We will rebuild together." Before the gathered nobles and citizens, the king declared Kwame the rightful heir to the throne. Cheers erupted across the palace as the people rejoiced in his return. That evening, under the golden glow of the palace lanterns, Kwame and Jabari stood side by side. They had fought against darkness and won. As music and laughter filled the air, they knew one thing for certain. The kingdom was safe once more. In the end, the truth proved stronger than deception. Though Queen Zuba had woven a web of lies and used dark magic to seize power, her betrayal was exposed, and justice was served. No matter how carefully one hides the truth, it always finds a way to reveal itself. The story of Kwame's return became a lesson for all. The power gained through dishonesty and treachery is never permanent. Queen Zuba had believed she could manipulate fate, but her greed and ambition led to her downfall. In contrast, Kwame's courage, resilience, and unwavering belief in justice allowed him to reclaim his rightful place. Under his rule, the kingdom flourished. Kwame, now wiser from his trials, led with fairness and compassion. He ensured that trust, not fear, governed his people, and he strengthened the bonds between the kingdom and its allies. With Jabari by his side as a loyal advisor, peace and